I mean, anyone that's been in a BYD car, it's a gorgeous car. Works really well. It's a beautiful thing. Look at Huawei. Incredible. People in the government in the 2 administrations ago thought they were going to hobble Huawei. Come back stronger than ever, making incredible chips. 20, 30 years ago, 1% of biotech global patents were Chinese. Now it's like 30%. You could see the same pattern. And the thing I'm so worried about is nothing happens in government until it's a major crisis. Once China decides that it's going to dominate the market in solar panels, the cells that go into solar panels, EV batteries, active pharmaceutical ingredients, we woke up a few years ago realizing that 100% of every AI chip is made in Taiwan. It's utterly frightening.
你正在看的是前美国商务部长吉娜·雷蒙多近日就美国产业政策与对华竞争的一次访谈。雷蒙多是拜登政府产业战略的核心设计者，不仅主导了芯片与科学法案，还负责协调半导体、人工智能与供应链安全等关键领域的投资与出口管制。2023年8月底，在他访问中国的前一天，华为突然发布了 Mate 60 Pro， 凭借自主供应链突破封锁。也因此，他被中国网友以华为手机代言人的身份调侃并熟知。在这次演讲中，他明确指出，美国正在进入一个国家主导的新工业时代，其核心目标是确保美国在先进制造业中永不再依赖中国。这场重返制造业的运动真的能让美国再次领先吗？美国所谓的去风险化是经济战略，还是新的地缘政治武器？当美国以国家安全为由封锁中国的芯片与技术，它究竟是在守护产业，还是在限制竞争？接下来，让我们一起听听他如何阐述这场美国式产业复兴的真实逻辑。
Anyway, yeah, we had robust industrial strategy, and many people criticized the administration, right? Theoretically, you want free markets, no government, limited government interference in the markets. And the president, to his credit, decided that in rare instances related to national security, where the market hasn't gotten it right in pursuit of pure profit, a case could be made to intervene in the market. And I remember Larry and I had many, many discussions when I was secretary, because I will tell you, I'd be the first to say, industrial policy, I think, is necessary in instances like with the CHIPS Act, where it is a true matter of national security. Right? It's not about the government investing to make money. The return you get is an improvement in national security. It's not a deal to make money for the government. It's an investment because the market didn't make the investment. But I will tell you, it's much harder to get wrong than it is to get right. And those are the discussions that we had. But I think I give the president...
Wait, much harder to get wrong than to get right, or much harder to get right than to get wrong?
No, it is... Sorry, it's much easier to get it wrong. It's easier to get it wrong. Thank you. It's easier to get it wrong than it is to get it right. I'm happy to talk about the things I think we did well, the things I think we could have done better. But bottom line is, look, there are some experts here in rare earths. We just rode the elevator together. 40, 50 years ago, the US led the world in global manufacturing of semiconductors. We made some of the components. We made printed circuit boards in America. We mined in America. We had rare earth minerals, and we were mining. And we took our eye off the ball. In pursuit, the market said, pursue profit, pursue fatter margins, pursue efficiency at all cost. So that's what happened. And as a result, we woke up a few years ago realizing that 100% of every AI chip is made in Taiwan. It's utterly frightening. And by the way, you try to find a printed circuit board made in America, or a substrate, or a chemical, or certain forms of packaging. You can't do it, and it's dangerous. So we decided in that example, where national security was at stake, we had to intervene, and we did.
But it was an argument that sort of manufacturing in general was a good thing that should be focused on. Is that your view?
Yeah, that is not my view. And I'm smiling because I would talk to the president about this. I don't know if Jake Sullivan's still here, but this is an argument that I routinely lost with President Biden. The argument will go something like this. Hey, Gov, which is what he called me. Gov, I'm sick of America being at the end of the supply chain. Why can't we make everything in America? Why can't we make bicycles and backpacks in America? I would say, Mr. President, we don't have enough labor. It's not, a good at which we have an advantage in making. It's not critical to our national security. By the way, if we try to make everything in America and we don't have the capacity or the labor, inflation will go through the roof. And at that time, and still, we have a problem with inflation. He would say, essentially, I don't agree with you. I want to make more. I want to make everything in America. And so, the argument would go as such. It turns out I lost every time because I wasn't the boss. And today, you have somebody else in the White House who I think would also say he wants to make everything in America. I don't agree, by the way. I'm not going to get into the long list of things I don't agree with the current inhabitant of the Oval Office on. But I don't see a competitive advantage for us in making car seats for babies. I was with Doug McMillan recently at Walmart. He's like, it's just really hard to make these car seats in America for all these reasons. Trump is like insisting we make them in America. He said, fine, if you want me to do that, when the average mom or dad goes to Walmart, they're going to pay $600 for a car seat. I don't think that helps America. But there's no national security benefit for making car seats in America. I think, by and large, we want the market to work. We want to specialize in what we are better at. And by the way, we want higher paying jobs. We want to make higher value things and higher paying jobs in America. It's similar to the semiconductor argument, or actually what's happening right now in biotechnology. Once China decides that it's going to dominate the market in solar panels, the cells that go into solar panels, EV batteries, active pharmaceutical ingredients, it becomes almost impossible for anyone else to make them. So if you believe that these things are good for America, good for our economy, good for our national security, good for our society, that in order to compete with that, you don't want to have to depend on them for 100% of those fill in the blank. So you want them to be made in America, so we don't have to rely on a critical thing, 100% from China. So putting a thumb on the scale.
How would you, what should the balance be between tax credits, rules, no fiddly, no negotiation, and let's be really clever and let the government be an investment banker and achieve incrementalism and do all this great stuff? How do you, based on what you've seen and what you've learned, if we were going to do this in a new sector, we were going to do this in rare earths, or we were going to do this in biotech production, how would you think about how much of our money should be simple rule, general subsidy, and how much of our money should be, figure out, have guys wheedle around and make it incremental and strategic and really targeted? How would you think about that?
Of course, he's asking all really hard questions. I'll tell you what I think, having done this. I did it as governor, by the way. I provided incentives, tax incentives and grants, and as secretary. I come down in favor of more simple rules, like more of the tax credit, more of the as a matter of right, mostly because it's very easy to implement, less politics gets involved, fewer phone calls from the senator from Michigan, actually, just to pick on all senators. and it just happens. That being said, it would not have worked for chips. Because and so I think my answer is, my answer from the beginning. Giving buckets of taxpayer money to big profitable companies should be rarely, if ever, done. But in this instance, and I think in other instances where we have become so reliant on China, it has to be done to meet the mission. So once again, what was my mission? My mission was to take this $100 billion or whatever it was and purchase a national security outcome. And being as how there is only one company in the world, TSMC, that can make semiconductors, they needed more. And I would have failed. If you just gave everybody a standard 25%, you might feel, as a technocrat, I might feel good about it. But if I didn't get TSMC to build 6 fabs in Arizona, I would have failed. So I think you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this industrial policy? And that's hard work to require, and then design a policy that allows you to achieve that purpose. Now, in my case, to be very honest, so what did I do? I'm the one that went to Wall Street and recruited all these guys. And then I'm the one that received lots of deeply unpleasant mail from certain senators saying, why did you go to Wall Street? These guys, you shouldn't go to Wall Street. You don't need investment bankers. Why are you hiring people from Goldman, Blackstone, KKR, McKinsey? Why can't you find your usual, policy analyst? And I would say, I'm investing money. I need investors. So it's at every go, it was hard. You get calls from everyone, White House, senators, governors, hire my cousin Gina, she's great at this. It's tough. So that's why I say, and also the other thing that we did that you can't do with tax credits is a measure of accountability. So we tranched the way we structured our grants, it was all tranched. We said, you'll get X dollars up front. Once you get your first customer, you'll get Y dollars, or once you build the fab, you get something. Because my deep, deep fear, which I was hell-bent on avoiding. First, you have to decide, what must I accomplish in order to be successful to hit the national security goal? And then you have to say, what risk can I not abide? And the risk I could not abide was building a fab and having it be empty, and having given this company all of our money. So I didn't want to give Intel, for instance, $10 billion upfront cash. They build a beautiful shell of a fab. They get no customers, and I'm out. So we said, you have some money up front, build the fab, move your equipment in, get some more money, get your first customer, get some more money. And that was like a measure of accountability. I'm just so worried. I keep coming back to biotechnology. I'm really worried about biotech. Right now, we seem to have captured the world's interest in semiconductors and then rare earths and critical minerals that go into it. But in the past 5, 10, 20 years, China is like whipping us when it relates to biotech. So as we are weaning ourselves from Taiwan on chips, we are going the other direction. We used to just do contract manufacturing with China. Now we contract out research and development. 20, 30 years ago, like 1% of biotech global patents were Chinese. Now it's like 30%. You could see the same pattern. And the thing I'm so worried about is, like, nothing happens in government until it's a major crisis. And I don't know how to fix that, and we don't have time. But so what's my point? My point is, like, these big companies or venture capitalists investing in biotech, the risk reward isn't there for them. So either we need to have more incentive for private capital to create these biotech companies, to do this research and development, or the government has to do a lot more of it. But right now, we're just really becoming more and more dependent on China for medicine.
Thank you. My name is Zihua, and I'm a first-year PhD student at T.H. Chan School of Public Health. So my question is, I keep hearing China throughout this talk, and in recent years, trade relations between China and the U.S. has become so negative. So I'm curious, in your opinion, if you can name 3 good things that China did right in terms of its industry policy.
China has a massively effective industrial policy. I mean, as I just said, I think it's amazing. It's stunning. I mean, anyone that's been in a BYD car, it's a gorgeous car. Works really well. It's a beautiful thing. That's a direct result of Chinese, subsidy. Look at Huawei. Incredible. People in the government in the 2 administrations ago thought they were going to hobble Huawei, come back stronger than ever, making incredible chips. All because it's a champion company in the Chinese government. The list goes on. Biotechnology. I mean, they're really innovating in biotech, in quantum, because the government is pouring money into it like crazy. Also, another thing, a lesson that we could learn from China, they invest in the talent. China recently rolled out, I forget the exact number, but thousands of what we would call career and technical vocational schools. Like, the average age of a pharmaceutical worker in America is like 55. The average age of a plumber, welder, electrician is 50-something, which now that I'm 54 sounds young, but we don't have an effective workforce system in this country. We don't. We incentivize attendance, Pell Grants, GI Bill, incentivize attendance. We send everybody to college. Lots of people don't graduate, or they graduate and they don't have skills for a job. China is incredibly intentional about a workforce strategy. We don't even teach molecular biology in most high schools, and yet we want to lead the world in biotech. So I think there's a lot we can learn from them. My only point is that under the current President Xi's leadership, it's a less free country and a much greater adversary to the United States, which I think is regrettable.
Right. Thank you, Secretary Raimondo. This is Anfield Tam, and I am a law student from Hong Kong. And we're in the 8th year of the trade war with China. We have tariff hikes, export-import controls, the ban on TikTok, perhaps cancellation of visas of Chinese students studying in critical fields. So if you were still the Commerce Secretary, how would you advise the current president on how to correctly manage trade relations with China?
Sorry, the visual of me trying to advise the current president, I'm trying to get my brain around that. Listen, I'll tell you what I think. How do I say this? What I see this administration doing is just making moves with China that are escalatory without even thinking about the next move that China might make. So my view is as follows. The world can't handle, and it's not in U.S. interest, to have a heated conflict with China. We have almost $1 trillion, I don't remember, $700 billion of trade with China, 99% of which is in commodity goods. That's a good thing. And we have to get better at nuance with China. We have to manage this relationship and have a long-term view, operate from a position of strength, and get better at nuance. So what I would do is I'd make America a hell of a lot stronger so that I could go toe-to-toe with China. And then I would not deal with China from a position of arrogance. I would deal with China from a position of strength. I would take them at their word, and I would try to operate in a more nuanced way so we didn't have this constant tit-for-tat escalate. Because right now, I think we're a little bit in a corner. We say 100% tariffs, except till tomorrow we say not. You throw 100% tariffs on China, I'll tell you right now, if they said no Tylenol, penicillin, or various other antibiotics in America, there wouldn't be any. If they decided to take over Taiwan, like they have a lot of cards to play. So I'd get to the business of strengthening America, including our allies, and deal with them from a much stronger position, and don't try to boss them around and have a better sense of nuance, which they do.
听完雷蒙多的演讲，我们可以清楚地看到他的核心立场：美国必须以国家力量重塑制造业版图，并在关键技术上摆脱对中国的依赖。他的演讲传递出几个关键结论：一、美国正在从自由市场逻辑转向国家主导核心产业的战略。芯片法案和出口管制并非临时应对的短期措施，而是一项与中国长期竞争的战略布局。二、所谓的去风险化，本质上是去中国化，其目标是让美国掌握上游技术与资本控制权，把中国锁定在低端制造与廉价出口的环节中。美国希望通过与盟友协作，建立一个排除中国的高科技生态圈。同时，他也承认，过去几十年中国的产业政策极为成功，在稀土、半导体、电动汽车、电池与太阳能等核心领域取得了巨大成就。华为、比亚迪等企业正是这些政策的直接成果。在谈到中美贸易战时，雷蒙多认为美国仍需要中国的市场与制造能力。他反对特朗普政府提出的100%关税威胁，拒绝进一步升级中美对抗，因为这可能激怒中国，导致稀土、生物医药等领域面临断供风险，甚至为台湾问题带来不可挽回的后果。换句话说，美国的新工业政策既是防御姿态，也是进攻策略，既要复兴本土制造，又试图重塑全球分工秩序。从更长远的角度看，这场产业政策的转向或许标志着自由贸易时代的终结，以及一个以科技、供应链与安全为核心的新冷战经济的到来。你怎么看？美国的产业复兴是在重建实力，还是在筑起技术铁幕，开启一场新的冷战？